Hello class, it's Professor Streeter. Each week I'm going to make a video walking you through the assignments for the week and looking at the content page, focusing on the content page. This week I'll also talk about the nuts and bolts of discussion boards and how to submit your work. In future I'll focus more on the content of the assignments that you're working on. Okay, so here's the home page of our website. And as you can see, announcements. I've got the one big welcome announcement, but I will have announcements every week, sometimes more than one, so make sure to check those on a regular basis. You go to the content page here, and I hope you've already explored the syllabus and the course schedule. As you can see, this week we are reading the introduction to the fundamentals of ethics. I give the page numbers, and then two readings from the ethical life, one by John Stuart Mill on hedonism, one of our themes for the week, and one on the experience machine by Robert Nozick. And I've also shared online a link to the meditations, or a part of the meditations by Marcus Aurelius. You can also see the assignments due in the other column, so posting your discussion post, your class introduction in the discussion post this week, writing a personal reflection, and there's a very short quiz covering the introduction to the fundamentals of ethics, quiz 1. Those are things to do this week, and if you scroll down, it breaks down the readings and the assignments for each week. If I make any changes to that, I'll put that in the announcements, and I'll update the schedule here, but it should pretty much, I'll be sticking to the schedule. Okay, there's lots of other things here in the course information module, textbook information, more detailed description of how to navigate some of the sections of the course, which I'll talk about in this video, information about me, and how to sign up for office hours. That's a big thing. It's a requirement this semester that you meet with me at least once. I encourage you to do that early in the semester, so find a time on Calendly that works for you and sign up, and we can meet either on campus, if you're on campus, or virtually on Google Meet. If you click this link, it takes you to my Calendly page, and there it is. I'm available on Mondays from 9 to 11, and you just click a time slot here, and that will automatically send me and you an email reminding you. It'll populate your calendar so you know to come at that time and log in and join the Google Meet meeting, or show up on my office at 2634 in the main building. I also have times 1:30 to 2:30 on Tuesday, and again 9 to 11 on Wednesday. If none of those times work for you, just send me an email and we'll set up a different time. Okay? So there is a class cafe discussion, which some of you have already posted in. This is not a requirement, but if you have any questions or comments or thoughts you want to share with me or the class, this is the place to put them. So Jade already just wished everyone a happy semester, a good start to the semester. So that was a nice post. Feel free to share any of your thoughts, or if you have specific questions about the course, put them in the class cafe. You can also send me an email. Okay. There is some information here about academic honesty, a link to the citation guide at the Prairie State Library. This is a very useful resource when you're writing papers or anything that you're writing for the course. If you're citing your sources, if you're using sources, I'm saying, it's important that you format them properly and cite them properly in your writing. So here's a guide at the library that explains the basic formatting styles and basic guidelines for how to cite sources. Very useful resource. Okay, the weekly content though, I want to focus here. Each week I've broken it down by week. We have the first 2 weeks open for viewing. You can also see Thanksgiving break is in November, and the final exam period, that's open. Our final exam is going to be due on December 10th, Wednesday. And that's a Google Doc that you'll share with me in the comment section of the final exam folder, but more importantly, you share a Google Doc with me, give me editor status. This is something you'll do for the midterm as well and for all of your writing in this course. Okay? But week 1, back to now, back to September. There's a couple of videos here I encourage you to watch. One about sort of weekly tasks and expectations that I have for you in this course, and a video that I made a while back talking about the 2 books that we're reading together. And then I've got sort of some bullet points for things to do this week preparing for the course and the week 1 assignments. If you haven't already done the survey, please do that this week. It won't take you very long. It looks like this. I ask you some questions about online learning, and so that's pretty straightforward. I've shared some videos with you, and each week I will share some videos with you and slideshows. You can just move directly to that. It's one of the sub-modules here. You can click up in this space and it'll take you to the page, the HTML page, with a link to the slideshow and links to the videos that I've made sort of narrating the slideshow. If you click the slideshow here, it looks like this. Okay, so lots of material to look at, slides to work through, and you can either just sort of start by looking through the slides. I think the videos will help you understand the slides. I've also shared some videos from the crash course series on PBS. This one is called What is a Good Life? That's one of our big questions for this week. So this is a useful starting point for thinking about that question along with the readings that we're doing. Also a video called Is Pleasure All That Matters by a philosopher named Richard Rowland. And here he's talking about hedonism and Nozick's experience machine, both of which we read about for this week. So these are videos that are relevant to our topics. I encourage you to watch them. Sometimes videos help you understand the reading. So that's the goal. Okay. So going back to these bullet points, right? So we've got the slideshows and the videos you can watch. I've got that linked here in the course preparation sort of bullet pointed page for each week. A link to the class cafe, which I just showed you, a link to Calendly, so you can sign up for office hours, and a link to the bookstore or the books for the course. There's 2 books, and I talk about them in the video that I just pointed out. Okay. So those are things to prepare, things to do in preparing for the course this week. Below, I have the content for this week, the week 1 assignments. So in addition to reading the fundamentals of ethics and these 2 selections from The Ethical Life, one by Mill and one by Nozick, as I said, I would like you to introduce yourself to the class in this week's discussion forum. You can find discussion forums up here in discussions, but they're also linked in the weekly content module. And if you just click here, right, here we have the class introduction discussion. You can click right there, and here we are. Now, how to use discussions if this is not something you're familiar with. Read the prompt. So I've asked you to just give a simple introduction, and here are some things to focus on in your introduction. But then when you're ready to write, just click Start a New Thread. Enter a subject line, my intro, or however you want to title it. Begin to write something. This is me. I am awesome. Okay, and then you just post it. If you want to upload a file, you can, but this is not necessary. And then you would post it, and there it is. It's there for everybody to read and to comment on. So if you feel like commenting on someone's introduction, I encourage you to do that. The discussion forum each week will have a more a question or prompt related to the themes and the readings for the week. And part of your task is to post your own response, but also to reply to one of your classmates. So you could get in the habit of doing that this week. Give a reply to one of your classmates. Introduce yourself. You introduce yourself to your classmates this week. Okay, so that's the goal for the class introductions discussion. Each week there'll be a discussion forum or topic, and this is the one for week 1. Okay? So coming back here, there is also a quiz to complete by Sunday. And again, there's 5 questions covering the introduction to the fundamentals of ethics. So it shouldn't take you very long. You have a half an hour to complete the quiz. Let me show you what that looks like. You would click it here. Based on a reading of the introduction to Schaefer-Landau's Fundamentals of Ethics, 5 multiple choice questions. It's timed. You have 1 chance. You have, I think, 30 minutes in this case. Yes, 30 minutes. And to start, you just click Start Quiz. But don't click Start Quiz until you're ready to take it, because you only have a half an hour to complete it. Okay? And 1 chance to do so. So that's the first quiz of the week. And the first piece of writing is due next week. So the quiz is due on Sunday. I've given you a little extra time to complete your personal reflection since we got started a day late. So you can have until September 9th, which I believe is a Tuesday. So a week from today, And here's the prompt. Think about the life you're living. And think about your life as a path that you've chosen. I'm not sure if that's the way you think about it every day, but for this assignment, try to think of your life as a path that you've chosen. So what does it mean to say that your life aims at happiness the way that an arrow aims at a target? That's the big question. And also I'd like you to think about your role models, right? Who are your role models? How do they guide you, right, toward the life that you've chosen to live? What are the ideals for how to live a good life that these role models have given you or shown you? Okay. So that's something to think about, and as you begin to write. And the task is to write and explain a story about your own experience that answers these questions in some way. Right? The story you tell should illustrate how you structure or organize your life in pursuit of what you call happiness. And so you can think about what you mean by happiness here. That's part of the task, to reflect on what you mean by happiness. And say something about how your role models have influenced the way you think about the pursuit of the good in life. Once you've told the story, reflect on the story that you've told and describe or pull out the concept of happiness that you think is there in your story, right? One of the goals this week is to reflect on the concept of happiness. What is it that we're seeking when we say that we want to be happy? And so I want you to think about that in connection to the way you've chosen to live your life and the role models that have inspired you and influenced the way you live. So by the end of the piece of writing, the goal is to explain your concept of a happy life or your concept of a good life in as much detail as you can, using concrete examples. So that's the main part of the assignment. For context, I would like you to read this excerpt from Marcus Aurelius. He is a Roman Empire from the 2nd century, and he wrote a meditation on his how to live, or from his perspective, like it shows you something about how he wanted to live his life, or what he thought of as a good or a happy life, from the perspective, a very different perspective, of a Roman emperor in the 2nd century. So I've given you an excerpt to look at, and it'll give you some context for writing your own reflection. He talks a lot in this excerpt about his role models. And so that may help you think about how you want to write about your role models. Okay, so part of the assignment is to open up this document. It's a Google document that I've shared with you, and read it, and then comment on it. So how do you comment on a Google Doc? Well, go to Insert. Excuse me. What am I? oh, here, sorry, let's go to insert. And if you scroll all the way down to insert, you can see comment. It gives you the commands that you can type, those 3 commands. If you type those 3 commands, then you open a comment. But you can also go to the insert menu and all the way down at the bottom, comment. So, okay, find a passage in this writing, right? Here he says something about what he got from his great-grandfather. Maybe you found that interesting, okay? You can click that way and do comment, or just highlight it and go back up here, insert comment. Okay, so highlight the place in the reading that you want to comment on, and then say something about it. What you found interesting about what he says about his great-grandfather, or a question that you have, or a point of clarification. I don't understand what he's saying. What does he mean by this? Or maybe give an example of your own to illustrate the point that you think he's making there. Or maybe you have a very different point of view on what he's saying about his grandfather. Or maybe you have a relationship with your own grandfather that's very different from his, right? So the comment can take many different forms. I'll give you more guidance on that in the future, but right now I want to see just that you can go into the document, find a specific passage, and share a comment about that specific passage, okay? So that's part of the reflection assignment, is that you go into the Marcus Aurelius document and share a comment. And then open up a Google Doc of your own and write your story, okay? So when you open up the Google Doc, make sure to give me editor status and share it with me. And then type your whole assignment, personal reflection, into the Google Doc. And add the link to the Google Doc to the comment section of this folder. So let me sort of show you how to do that. Let's say, okay, so let's go to Docs. Okay, open up a new document, personal reflection, and so tell me what it is and put your name, okay? And then a title, okay? And begin writing, okay? But as you start writing, make sure to share it with me. Okay, I'm going to, so how do you share it? You click share and put my email in there, so gstreeter@prairiestate.edu. I'm just going to pretend I'm sharing it with my friend Teresa. Make sure you give me editor status when you share it. So you have different statuses, click editor, and then just click send. Or you can just make it unrestricted, so anyone with the link, okay? And make sure you turn it to editor, so anyone with the link can edit it, and then you're done. And then you copy the link. Okay, you've copied the link, and the link is one that once you share it with someone, they can start editing it. You're going to share it with me. So copy the link, and then go back to the folder that I was showing you. And if you go down here, there's a comment section in the assignment folder. So in there, you can paste your link. So there's the link to the Google Doc, and then you click submit. And then I will see that you shared the link to your Google Doc in the assignment folder. I'll see that you have started the assignment. But I'm going to do all of the commenting in the Google Doc itself. So once you submit your work, I'll go into it and share comments there, and I'll be able to see your writing history and get a sense of the process that you have as a writer. Okay. All right. That's all for this week. So that's due, going back down, the personal reflection is due by Tuesday of next week. For this week, focus on introducing yourself to the class in the discussion forum and taking the short quiz. Okay, that's all for now. This is quite a long video. I'll have shorter videos next time when I don't have to explain how everything works. Okay, all right. And we will not be meeting this week for our virtual class. I will schedule something for next week. For this week, just focus on getting comfortable with the D2L shell and begin reading and thinking about what we're reading together. Okay, that's all for now. Take care.